Welcome back to my channel. I am Rosie, I'm a flight attendant, and in today's episode we're gonna do something not very nice. We're gonna gossip. Why are we gonna gossip? We're gonna gossip because we are crew and that's what we do. Okay, let's start. As I used to fly in the Middle East, I flew for Qatar Airways and later on for Etihad Airways. In today's video, I'm trying to portray 10 types of cabin crew that you might meet on your flight, especially if you are working for a Middle Eastern airline or maybe if you plan to be a cabin crew in the future. On my channel, we usually discuss more educational things about becoming a cabin crew, but I want in my channel to actually show the real life of the cabin crew in the Middle East, and I decided to make a more entertaining video for today. Let's go! We start the first one with the vlogger. Let's make fun of me first. To be honest, while I was flying for Qatar Airways and Etihad Airways, I was not doing YouTubes. But I started being on TikTok, so I was taking videos around the plane whenever I had a chance. Are we allowed? Well, while I was in Qatar Airways, there was a strict rule about not using your phone at work. So I actually used to put my phone in the handbag at the beginning of the flight and don't touch it for the whole flight. And I will take it back after the flight. Why? Because in Qatar Airways, it is very easy to be reported and to go in the office if the wrong person sees you with the phone. But in Etihad, the environment was more relaxed. Don't think that I will be on my phone around while at work, but if I had a little bit of extra time, I will take some nice shots for my social media or pictures with my crew, as long as I have done all my tasks and the time permitted. As many people on social media are curious about this job above the clouds, there are many crew who are documenting their journey, including myself. So, say hello to the cabin crew member who turns every flight into a potential viral TikTok video. Of course, this type of crew, the vlogger, might try to take selfies with everyone, will ask the crew to pose at the end, and for some people this might be very entertaining, but for other crew this might be really disturbing. So if you are the vlogger, be careful who you vlog around with in your crew. Personally, I always ask approval before taking my phone out while in uniform. And of course, I also ask if my colleagues agree to be on my social media platforms before doing it. But we need this crew. You know, those amazing, breathtaking, cinematic videos from the plane that we see, landing into the Maldives, or seeing the Alps from the window. We need this kind of people to have nice material on social media, right? So well done, you're doing a great job, keep doing the work, but do your safety checks first. Also, usually this type of crew is famous in the company and the management, so you also must be very careful to keep a professional image, as all eyes are on you if you are the vlogger type. The next one, let's talk about the Galley Queen, the cabin crew member who rules the aircraft's kitchen domain with a flair and a dash of culinary extravaganza. Their galley is immaculate, organized with military precision, and if anyone tries to disturb this harmony, you're in trouble. Also, this is known as the galley OCD syndrome. I used to judge the OCD syndrome when I've seen it in some people in the galley. But with the time, I became that type. One time, my senior, I remember, brought some salmon from first class for him, and he put it on my perfect galley, which was spotless. He just put the casserole there, then he left in the cabin. It just triggered my attention. I didn't know what's in there. I was like, who put this box in my galley? And I threw it away. And when he came back, he was like, Rosie, what did you do? This is my first class meal. Do you know how hard I tried to get that fish? It's a very slippery slope to get the galley OCD syndrome. Be very careful, like control your emotions. And I'm talking to my cabin senior now. Alex, if you see this video, I apologize one more time for throwing away your casserole. The next one, let's talk about the I will resign crew. Every few flights, you can meet this type of crew who clearly doesn't want to be there, and if he receives any feedback, will simply answer back with, I'm resigning anyway. What is actually gonna happen? Well, 2 years later, you might be scheduled again on a flight with the same person. And guess what? Obviously, they are still there. He didn't resign, but will be still threatening around that the big day is coming. To be very honest, I think that any crew in the Middle East had at least one flight when felt like resigning for real. I've said that myself. The job can get really challenging sometimes, and it can get overwhelming for some. But still, try not to become that crew with this kind of attitude. Not only that will put others in a bad mood, but you're putting yourself in a bad mood. The next one, I might receive negative feedback on this one, I know, but we have to talk about the lover boy. Ladies, watch out. Not only once it happened that on a flight, two girls discovered that they actually date the same guy. But how do you identify the lover boy? They always have this sweet talk. He will compliment your eyes and will bring you chocolate from first class. He will be always inviting you to share the jump seat and sometimes the crewless compartment. Oops. He will knock at your door in the hotel during your layover, ask you if you have some Panadol, as he cannot take you out of his mind. You might end up going for a drink, maybe in Bangkok, and dance and sing. He will tell you what a nice guy he is and that he has his own business back home. You might look into his eyes and actually think that, oh wow, you found the nicest and funniest guy ever. Then you will go back to your base, try to schedule a date again with this guy, and he will tell you that he can see you on 17th and 18th as his wife has a flight to Sydney. And boom, romance is over. You might think I just made up a story from my head, but if there is anyone working for Etihad, Emirates, Qatar watching this, please confirm in the comments that these stories are true so people can see the proof. Okay, maybe this was a bit too much. I'm not trying to offend anyone on my channel. I'm touching this sensitive subject because these things are happening, and because on my channel maybe there are many people who are aspiring to become cabin crew, I feel like it's my responsibility to say everything and realistically what you should expect from a life as a cabin crew in the Middle East. And maybe through this story, I am saving a few broken hearts. Who knows? The next one, I like to call it the magician. This crew always disappears. I must say that this happens very rare because while working for a top airline, usually people are trying to keep their jobs. But sometimes you might still find a magician among your crew. And when do they disappear? In the middle of the service, of course. During a super busy flight, You might be stuck in the middle of the cabin with no meals, with no Sprite, with no wine, and you are calling your trustable crew in the galley, ring ring, and nothing happens. Somehow you manage to handle the hungry crowd from economy, and an hour later you find your crew coming out from the lavatory, which you thought it's locked. And this magician, he will appear again with his phone and snacks, and he might look like he just had enough. Please don't be that crew. Make sure you rest before your flight and you don't let your crew down. This is not what cabin crew do. And actually, it might happen for you to be very, very tired. In this situation, try to explain to your colleagues that you are not really okay, and they might actually tell you, look, after the service, just have a break. I will cover for you. If you know how to talk, your crew will be very nice and understand the situation. We all been there. We all know how it feels to be tired. Don't be you know. The exceeding expectations crew. As we just talked about the lazy crew who might disappear when you need him the most. Let's talk about the other extreme, the overworking crew. This crew will work, finish his tasks, and then go and help the others, help in the up galley, help in the mid galley, help the passengers with their heavy bags, do half of the galley work, then also do the service on his own, and then checking all the toilets after everything is done in economy. This very kind soul will proceed to business class to give his colleagues a hand. And by the end of the flight, will realize that there was no time to eat for him. Why do I know the sequence so well? Well, because this used to be me. It took me a long time to understand that this is not healthy and nobody is actually going to remember my acts of kindness. I am not saying that you should not help your crew. Of course, if you have extra time, in the contrary, I am encouraging you to teamwork all the time. But please learn how to set boundaries. People might use you and abuse you if you become too sweet and too much of a people pleaser. As I said, it took me a long time to learn how to set those boundaries, and at some point it became very stressful for me, and it was me punishing myself. Nobody told me to do those things. I was just too responsible. Next one, let's talk about the you are not allowed purser. In my experience for working for two top airlines in the Middle East, I would say that most of our leaders on board are amazing. They are experienced, they are empathetic people who usually know how to keep the team spirit up. But there is always some people lose their minds when they are in a position of power. That's the truth. And if we got this type of leader, we all know it from the briefing room that we won't enjoy the flight. Unfortunately, I have seen some very unprofessional situations on board caused by this type of people who abuse their power in order to put others down. To be a cabin crew for a top airline, it is already a stressful job. Putting even more pressure by having your manager following you around to look for mistakes can actually cause a real mistake on board. Because the other crew, especially the juniors, are scared by this type of managers. And I've seen them even crying in the lavatory after this kind of managers gave a feedback. I would say an unnecessary feedback many times to the junior crew. And now, for the next type of crew, I will go to the opposite. I have been flying for 20 years and still enjoying type of crew. There are people who are actually loving this job for years and years. They come to work always with a smile on their face, even though they are in a supervisor position. They're very humble and supportive with their crew. I really, really admire people who can keep this attitude for years and years. And I think that these people are very happy in their personal life as they make great leaders on board. I think that the secret in loving your job for the long haul lies in finding fulfillment, maintaining a positive mindset, fostering healthy relationships, and continuously seeking growth and learning opportunities. This type of coworkers, even when they have feedback to give, they do it in such a way that you don't get upset and you understand the good intention. To be honest, I haven't reached this level of mindset yet, but that's why we need good example at work and in life. And now, the last type of crew we're gonna talk in today's video, going from gossiping about our seniors, let's go to the very beginning in this career and talk about the new joiners. We've all been there and we know how it feels to be in the uniform for the very first time. And hopefully, you will be the new joiner soon, maybe, if you're here and watching this. In the beginning, on your first flight, it can feel all too much when you are on board. Yes, after the intense training, you know all the procedures by heart, but once you are on board, you might instantly feel like you remember nothing from the manual. And theory is not enough if not combined with practice, right? Your crew will know that you are the baby of the flight and you will receive extra attention. That's also why there is a probation period of 6 months. So if you do some mistakes on board in this time, they will be treated with less severity, as that's the period when you are supposed to learn and become a master. But now, let's continue our gossip. What this crew will do on board? Well, you will easily identify this crew because he will be overexcited to do a Bahrain flight, over smiling and being over polite. Don't get me wrong, we usually smile and we are being polite, but a new joiner will bring this to a whole new level. For sure, the new joiner will need assistance to find his jump seat, and most probably he will forget in which compartment he put his bags in. When the service preparation starts, he will try to help, but realistically speaking, he will be more like an obstacle in the galley, and a senior galley operator might get really annoyed if the new joiner dares to say something like, "They said we're not supposed to do this on training." Don't say that as a new joiner. You will annoy everybody on board. As a new joiner, you will not master the skill of passenger facial recognition yet. So you might get really lost in bringing a glass of water to the passenger who asked for it. Then you will come back to the galley to look for a plastic glass, and finding the right container where the plastic glass is, it might seem like a real challenge. If you are not very lucky, your crew might even joke around and make fun of you by giving you some weird tasks. Some famous tricks played on the new joiners are to send you in the cabin with a drink for a passenger seated in a seat number that doesn't exist. The crew will be watching you amused from the aft galley while you are trying to finding the non-existing passenger seat. Also, another thing that the crew did to a new joiner, oh god, that's quite awful. They told the new joiner to take 2 plastic bags, fill them with air, one from economy class and the other from business class. Hold it, keep the bags with air carefully, and bring it to the flight deck and tell to the pilot, "I brought you samples. Check if the air in the cabin is correct. This is from business, this is from economy." The pilots, they couldn't stop laughing when the crew did this. It might be funny, it might not be funny for some people. So if you are joining an airline soon, watch out for these tricks. Maybe play the game if you are the funny type. But if the crew goes too far with these jokes, know when to set your boundaries again. But don't worry, most of the crew are very, very nice and they will be helpful and they will know where to stop doing. That was all for today. I am really curious on your opinion about what I said here. Please write it down and share your stories in the comment section. As this is a Galley Gossip episode, we are allowed to gossip a bit today. If you liked this episode, like and share my video and subscribe to my channel. I'm really waiting for your feedback on this type of episodes. Bye bye!